Good evening. In international politics, words can build bridges or walls, sometimes in a single sentence. Lately, former President Donald Trump has made bold claims, accusing Canada of unfairly blocking American banks from its markets. He's painted Canada as a financial adversary, fueling economic nationalism. The rhetoric peaked with a dramatic rumor that Canada rejected a $2 billion bond bid from U.S. banks. This story, amplified online, gave the accusations a cinematic twist. Clear villain, clear victim. It's a narrative that sticks, simple, infuriating and fitting a larger story of America being wronged by its allies. But the loudest claims aren't always the most accurate. Our job is to look past the noise and dig into the facts. Is Canada really slamming the door on Wall Street? Was a major deal actually blocked? Let's separate the headlines from the truth. Let's get straight to the facts. In a world where headlines travel faster than the truth, it's more important than ever to separate fact from fiction, especially when it comes to cross-border finance. The claim that Canada bans U.S. banks is simply false. There's no sweeping policy shutting out American banks from Canadian soil, despite what some viral posts might suggest. There's no blanket ban, no financial iron curtain. In reality, the border remains open for business, and financial institutions from both countries interact daily. The rumor about a blocked $2 billion bond bid? No evidence supports it. Financial records and official statements show no such event occurred. It's political theater, an exaggeration designed to stoke outrage. These stories often surface during election cycles or heated policy debates. The U.S.-Canada financial relationship is complex, governed by regulations, not prohibitions. Both countries have systems in place to ensure stability and fairness, not exclusion. These claims are part of a familiar political strategy, framing America as a victim in trade disputes. It's a narrative that grabs attention but rarely reflects the full reality. Take another claim, that Canada rejects U.S. agricultural products. Also false. Trade in farm goods is robust, with both countries benefiting from the exchange. Canada is a top market for American farmers, buying nearly $28 billion in goods last year. That's a testament to the strong economic ties that exist. Even U.S. dairy exports to Canada have grown. While there are regulations, the flow of goods continues, adapting to changing policies and consumer demand. The pattern is clear: exaggeration for political gain. Sensational headlines often overshadow the steady, ongoing cooperation between the two nations. The real story isn't about bans, but about regulations and market dynamics. These are the forces that shape cross-border business, not dramatic acts of exclusion. Foreign banks, including American ones, face hurdles, not locked doors. They must meet Canadian standards, just as Canadian banks must meet U.S. requirements when operating stateside. Understanding these rules is key to seeing the full picture. It's not about exclusion, but about ensuring a level playing field and protecting consumers. The truth is nuanced, not a simple tale of exclusion. It's a story of negotiation, adaptation, and mutual benefit. So let's look at how U.S. banks actually operate in Canada, and why the real story is far more interesting than the myths. If you've ever wondered how U.S. banks manage to operate in Canada, you're not alone. Despite what some might think, American banks aren't banned from doing business up north. But the way they operate is shaped by a unique set of Canadian rules and regulations. The Canadian Bank Act is the key piece of legislation here. It doesn't outright prohibit foreign banks, but it does set out a detailed framework for how they can participate in the Canadian financial system. This law is designed to ensure stability and protect Canadian consumers while still allowing international competition. Under the Act, foreign banks have two main ways to enter the market. They can either establish a full-fledged subsidiary, known as a Schedule II bank, or they can operate as a branch, which falls under Schedule III. Each path comes with its own set of rules and opportunities. Setting up a subsidiary means the bank is treated almost like a Canadian bank. This gives them deep access to the market, letting them offer a wide range of services. However, they must comply with strict Canadian regulations, including capital requirements and consumer protection standards. Operating as a branch is a bit easier to set up, but there's a catch. These branches can't accept retail deposits under $150,000. That means they're effectively shut out of everyday banking for regular Canadians, like opening checking accounts or offering small personal loans. Instead, these branches focus on serving large clients. Think corporate lending, investment banking, and wealth management for high net worth individuals and big businesses. Their services are tailored to the upper echelons of finance, not the average consumer. And it's not just American banks that face these rules. The same framework applies to all foreign banks, whether they're from Europe, Asia, or anywhere else. Canada's approach is consistent and designed to keep the playing field level. The goal isn't to single out US banks or any particular country. Instead, Canada's policy is about safeguarding its financial system, ensuring stability, and protecting consumers from potential risks that can come with foreign banking giants. Think of it like a stadium. You can't just set up a hot dog stand anywhere you want in the main concourse, but you can offer exclusive catering in the private suites. The access is there, but it's carefully managed and limited to certain areas. So, US banks aren't banned from Canada. They're simply limited in what they can do, especially when it comes to serving everyday Canadians. Their activities are channeled into specific, regulated segments of the market. In practice, this means US banks are active players, but you'll mostly find them in the corporate suites of Canadian finance, working with big businesses and wealthy clients rather than the general public. It's not a blockade keeping them out. It's more like a channel that guides their activity, ensuring they operate within well-defined boundaries. So, what does this look like on the ground? Let's take a closer look at how US banks actually operate in Canada and the roles they play in the country's financial landscape. Despite the rhetoric, US banks have a strong and enduring presence in Canada, even if it's not always visible to the average consumer. While the Canadian banking landscape is often described as insular or protected, the reality is more nuanced. In fact, 16 US-based bank subsidiaries and branches operate across the country, with offices in major cities from Vancouver to Toronto and Montreal. These institutions have established deep roots, serving a wide range of clients. These aren't fringe players. Think JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, and US Bank. These are some of the world's largest financial institutions, and their Canadian operations are significant. Together, they hold over $113 billion in Canadian assets, a figure that underscores their influence and reach within the country's financial system. American banks are the dominant foreign players, accounting for about half of all foreign bank assets in Canada. No other country's banks come close to this level of market share. They're deeply integrated into the Canadian economy, providing essential services like corporate lending, investment banking, and wealth management to some of the country's largest companies and investors. You won't see them on every street corner, and they don't compete for everyday checking accounts, but they're vital to Canadian business, especially in the corporate and institutional sectors. Take Rocket Mortgage's recent exit from Canada. Not a ban, but a business decision in a tough, highly competitive market. Their departure highlights the challenges of breaking into Canadian retail banking, not government exclusion. The real challenge for US banks is competition, not prohibition. Canadian banks are powerful incumbents with loyal customer bases and strong brand recognition. US banks are active and significant, just not in retail banking. Their focus is on specialized financial services, cross-border transactions, and large-scale corporate deals. Their role is specialized, not shut out. They cater to multinational corporations, institutional investors, and high-net-worth clients who need expertise in both US and Canadian markets. The narrative of exclusion doesn't match reality. US banks are woven into the fabric of Canadian finance, just in ways that aren't always visible to the public. The real story is about market structure and strategy, how foreign banks find their niche in a system dominated by a few powerful Canadian players. Let's explore why Canada is such a tough market for any foreign bank, and what it takes to succeed here. It's not just about rules. It's about the power of the incumbents, the structure of the market, and the unique challenges that make Canada a fortress for its homegrown banks. The real challenge for foreign banks in Canada isn't targeted rules, it's the dominance of the Big Six. Royal Bank, TD, Scotiabank, BMO, CIBC, and National Bank control over 75% of deposits. They're woven into Canadian life with deep customer loyalty and massive branch networks. Laws prevent foreign takeovers of these giants, protecting economic sovereignty. US banks can't just buy their way in, they have to build from scratch, which is slow and costly. Consumer habits also favor the Big Six, making it even harder for newcomers. Competing in retail banking would require billions in investment and years of effort. That's why US banks focus on specialized, less infrastructure-heavy areas. The barriers are high but not insurmountable, just daunting. Notice the silence from US banks themselves. Despite political noise, Wall Street isn't demanding action. Bank leaders know the Canadian market and its rules. They've operated there for decades. For them, these are known costs, not sudden injustices. They've built profitable models in investment banking and corporate finance, not retail. A full assault on Canadian retail banking would be costly and risky. Instead, they've adapted, thriving in niches where they have an edge. The outrage is political, not business-driven. Why are these claims surfacing now? Context is key. They're part of a larger story escalating US-Canada trade tensions. Recent tariffs and retaliations have strained the relationship. In this climate, banking claims become political weapons, justifying aggressive trade moves. The argument, if Canada blocks our banks, tariffs are justified. The truth of the banking situation becomes secondary to its usefulness as a talking point. It's a classic tactic frame the narrative to rally domestic support. By highlighting supposed injustices, protectionist policies become easier to sell. The claims are simple, emotionally charged, and fit the broader trade dispute. But they don't reflect the real financial relationship. With all the heated rhetoric, it's easy to fear a looming financial crisis. But the reality is far less dramatic. This is a political dispute, not a financial one. US banks in Canada are healthy and profitable in their niches. The Canadian Big Six are stable and well-capitalized. Cross-border financial flows continue as usual. The system's foundations remain strong. Tariffs have real economic impacts, but they don't threaten financial stability. There's no sign of a 2008-style crisis, no credit collapse, no bank failures. The debate is about rules, not solvency. Investors and the public should keep perspective. This is political theater, not a financial meltdown. So, what's the bottom line? The claim that Canada bans US banks is false. Political rhetoric, not reality. The $2 billion bond bid story? No evidence. US banks are regulated, not excluded, and have a major presence in Canada. The real barrier is the power of Canada's Big Six, not government hostility. US bank leaders aren't protesting, they've adapted and found success. These claims are tools in a broader trade dispute, not signs of crisis. The financial relationship is robust and stable. In an era of dramatic headlines, facts matter more than ever. Keep a cool head, look past the theater, and focus on reality.